So stay with us here on TVC Breakfast. Now, as Nigeria faces mounting security challenges from multiple fronts, including terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and communal clashes, there are concerns as to how adequate the welfare is for the soldiers defending the country. Now, according to the military sources, most soldiers are earning very low salaries and enduring poor welfare conditions despite the high risks and demands of their job. In response to this, civil society organizations and experts have asked that the government improve the living conditions and health care for soldiers and their families. They also emphasized the need for proper allocation of resources and adequate reward for the sacrifices made by security personnel. Let's begin to talk this, expand or expatiate on this. We have joining me in the studio, Executive Director, Center for Social and Economic Rights, Nelson Ekujimi. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
We'll also have in the course of the program a Zoom guest who will be joining us via Zoom rather from the United States of America. Is a security expert, Roy Okidiebe. Roy, good to see you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
And I would like to start with you. Roy, in the United States. You know, oftentimes we always talk about. In fact, we just finished talking about the insecurity challenges we're facing in the country and the Nigerian military who are in the front line, ensuring that we stem this tide of, crises, communal conflicts, and also killings every here and there. Talk to us. Let me start with your own personal experience, and insight into some of the challenges that you faced as a soldier vis-a-vis remuneration in the country.
Oh, thank you very much. And this is a lovely opportunity. And I didn't believe that TVC would do this because it's a very compassionate move to discuss this kind of angle. Because most times when...
sorry, before you go on, TVC will always do this. We've always been doing this. Probably you didn't pay much attention in that regard. But then carry on. This is what we do every day.
No, you didn't get my angle. It's a compliment. Okay? Maybe you are listening as a civilian and I'm talking as a military man.
All right, carry on.
So in the days when we were in Dodan Barracks, every time there is need for the military to come out, I think they just started Operation Sweep then to support the police. I find the same problems happening to the military line. So if civilians are outside protesting for increased fuel prices, and I am outside holding peace, my daughter, my son, they are also buying from the same market. And I don't have the wherewithal to go for multiple streams of income like the civilian. I wait for that peanut that comes in every month. And I must be disciplined to follow through, to keep peace and stability and lay down my life for the country. So it looks like a joke, but when you wear this uniform, you will also discover that within the rank and file, there is the disparity. Then you buy fuel. So there's no power in the barracks. So you power your generator to power your house. That's something else. Then you also contribute money to buy transformer in the barrack as a soldier. Then you contribute money to buy drugs for yourself and for your colleagues that are sick because the medical system is not working. You also contribute money to buy kits and uniforms for yourself. The uniform, the boots we wear to protect you Nigerians, most of it we buy it ourselves, Then you will now talk about education for the children. You cannot compete with civilians. If you go to command school in Lagos, where you are right now, you will see more of civilian children in command because of the cost and the rigmarole to get into it. You must immediately understand the politics of entry. So all of these issues are bottled up into why military men are now maybe seen in very few criminal cases, and the volume shows that the discipline still holds back majority of them that are supposed to go into crime. I look at the times that we are on patrol, where you catch criminals that are holding bundles of money, and you submit those criminals to the police, and these men come back home. I was taking a salary of, I think in Kaduna, one mechanized thief, we started with 3,000 naira. And in that 3,000 naira, you pay, in Ojo Cantonment, I paid 700 naira to the Army Ordnance Corps. For a uniform they gave me, just the material, I paid to sew it from the Army Ordnance Corps. I was in Topo Barracks, so my commander is still alive. He has retired. He's a general. So all of these things that we see, my brother, when I see the discipline in the military man, I know that the core of the patriotic Nigerians are some of them that we found in the military. If you want to look at the weapon that we carry, the law guiding that weapon, you may go out on a patrol and come back and remain in the guard room. Why? Maybe you violated one military law or the other, and civilians don't know any of this. You may be in detention for you had the breaking away of the detention in one of the camps. For 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, you are in detention and you are in service. Your family is not seeing you and your salary is not going to them. So when you look at that salary, sir, I ask people, why do we want to increase salary in any time, in any phase? Because the cost of living has exceeded the salary emoluments that you earn, that the general population earn. So if that is the reason why you want to increase salary, why not also simultaneously look at how to buffer what we swallow, what you want to increase? Because if you increase salaries and the rate of inflation doubles the rate that you are increasing, you have not achieved anything. You have created more frustration. Soldiers are supposed to have rebates when they go out to buy fuel or any other thing. They're supposed to have rebates when they want to put their children in school, like primary school, nursery school to secondary school, supposed to be free. But the worst schools are the command schools that you have inside the barracks because of the level of teachers there and everything is not up to a private school, So if you now look at the senior officers, I tell my soldiers colleagues, I said, we have to pity our guys them. The ones that don't put their hand in the coffers of the military budget, when they come out from the military, they are ashamed to take the jobs that some of us take. They are ashamed to live in some of the places that some of us live because of their level. And they now have to live a life where we just lost General Udokwere. Are you aware? In Abuja, some riffraffs walked into his house and killed him. And some of them were just caught because where you live and the opportunities you have to defend yourself, they are limited. There are soldiers that are living in one-room apartments right now that are serving personnel living in the town. They exist. So we cannot exhaust the discussion. So I don't want to bother us with the opening remark.
It's a very, very, sad story, Mr. Roy. But for the purpose of clarity, paint to us a picture of the salary structure of the average Nigerian soldier today. And you also mentioned the fact that while in service, you had to pay for your dressing, your clothes, your food and all. Well, from the information that we have, we hear that some soldiers get operational allowances. Can you clarify that? And also help us clarify what's the living condition of veterans like you? You were lucky to be out of the country. What about those that are still in the country?
Okay, let me tell you something. Whether serving or retired, I am constrained in what I can say because of the discipline that I have. Now, for me to tell you the breakdown of soldier salary, I am sure if you go to Google, it's already on social media. Now, the salary I was taking before I left was 9,000 naira. And that was in 2003 or thereabouts. Now, the pension that I'm taking after the minimum wage increase is 32,000 naira. So with my 32,000 naira, I'm supposed to rent a house because I was not given the army housing. You saw the officer and his accomplice that they were arrested for the squandering of the money for army housing, for military housing. So I was not given housing. So I will use that 32,000 naira to pay for my house, go and pay for drugs for my right eye that I lost in the military. All my denture, I buy dentures every time from the dentist. All those effects, some people have bullet wounds, metals in our body. Then you will also use that money to feed your family, clothe them, because there is no allowances for your family after you leave service. No freedom of education, any kind of business grant for your wife after you leave service. So there's no support from there. So that is for me. Then for the SDA, there was something called Security Debarment Allowance, which we went on protest last time that we shut down the Ministry of Defense and Finance. Now, the SDA, after they agreed to pay it, they spread it into years. So when you get an alert, it comes like 20,000 naira for a quarter. And that SDA is supposed to be something you use to go into entrepreneurial skills. So we bury our colleagues every day. You will just hear that somebody collapsed. One day VM just slept, he didn't wake up. You will just see some people just,
That's right, Mr. Roy. Definitely, we'll definitely come back to you. Let's bring this conversation into the studio. We have someone who is a CSO, and this part when it comes to social and accountability rights. Can you help us elaborate on the CSO's demands for a pay rise for soldiers? Looking at the accounts that Mr. Roy Okidebe has given, regarding his own experience and some of the things that you've actually seen. And because you have information about this, that's the reason why you're making that demand, you're making that advocacy. How does this fit into the broader context of social and economic rights in Nigeria, in demanding for better pay for soldiers?
Well, thank you very much. The demand for higher pay is part of a larger demand, because listening to Mr. Roy, I feel very sad. He has painted a gory picture of what the military guys are going through as security operatives, and I don't think they deserve that in view of their sacrifices to keep us alive and together as one. So these demands that we are making are part of the general demands that we make in any society, because the essence of governance or government is to make life better for the people. And if we are looking at the standard of living or the cost of living, a military personnel or a security operative is first and foremost a human being. So he deserves to live a better life. And even if they have committed to putting their lives on the line, if by the grace of the Almighty they are able to survive, even when they leave service, we should not allow them to go and die. They should also be able to reap the reward of their labor over the years. So our demands are numerous. And like he has rightly said, part of the general demands are those indices that we use to calculate or measure the cost of living. How do we ensure that whatever pay rise they get does not pale to nothingness? He has just given us a very good illustration. So you're looking at transportation, for example. You're looking at cost of foodstuffs. I listened to the earlier guest talking about soldiers securing farmers. And even in the military engagements, the engagement is only temporary in regards to security. The internal security is the responsibility of the police. That's right. So when the military clears the criminal den, the police will have to come and maintain law. The military will not remain there because the military have a constitutional role, territorial integrity. So these demands we are making is that we are looking at the general welfare of the Nigerian military personnel, whether in service or after service. When he talked about collecting 32,000 naira, I was just thinking, he's going to pay for electricity, he's going to pay for environmental.
He started with 9,000.
His children, maybe he has still 2 or 1 young one who is still in school. If he's not fortunate that maybe he had elderly children who would help him augment, you know, the man is in trouble. That money alone cannot take care of his drugs for 1 week. So we really need to look at how we treat our security, our military personnel, and see how we can make their life better, like it obtains anywhere in the world. Like he rightly said, I totally agree with him. There's no reason why we cannot give them special rebates when it comes to some basic, you know, things in the society because of what they are doing. The military is the most disciplined institution in any society. The military is the most patriotic institution because in the military, there's nothing like I'm a Christian or a Muslim, or I'm a religious worshiper, a traditional religion. There's nothing like I'm an Igbo man or an Hausa man. You are first and foremost a Nigerian, and their oath is to the Nigerian society. They don't want to know where you come from. So I think we are using this to raise the public discourse that, look, a military man who has put down his life should not be the one to procure his own uniform. It's unheard of. Even the police are going through the same thing. There was a day I was on a national TV station, and we're talking about police, the activities, the challenges of policing. And a DPO called me. He said, why I see them go outside of what they are supposed to do is because of the rainy day. That when a DPO, you can imagine when you get in the position of a DPO or a ACP, and go and look at a lot of our security personnel when they are. Mr. Roy is very lucky. I think he should be thanking God every minute.
I'm blessed.
Go and look at the conditions of living of our retired security personnel. It's deplorable. It's unacceptable. So we should, as a people, we should look at their welfare and see how we can up the ante to make them, even after service, he's still a military man. He can be recalled anytime. So if you allow him to die, it means all the investment in him, you have allowed it to waste. So I think we can do better than what we are doing. And that is why we are, we're out there, raising our voices that, look, their welfare has to be improved, whether in service or out of service. They are Nigerians. They deserve a better life like you and I.
And when we're looking at the current security situation that we are facing now, some will say the military men are not even as motivated as they were back in the days. But earlier this year, the federal government approved a 25 to 35% increase in the salary structures of police officers, the armed forces, and public servants, among others. That took effect from January 1st, 2024. I wonder if that has been implemented and why we're having this conversation. Well,
when government makes pronouncements, there are processes to be followed. There are appropriations to be made. We don't know whether it is being implemented for now. But be that as it may, if you look at the current state of things, you know that even that 25% will be like a drop, a tiny drop in the ocean. But most importantly, we are looking at areas of health, because these are people that, in the course of their engagement, they go through a lot of health challenges. And, when you are young and you punish the body or you put the body to so much work, there's always the law of nature that when you are getting older, everything will relapse. So you look at the education of their children. A lot of times, and, we as civilians, we don't help matters. Unlike in other crimes, the type of preferential treatment, the type of respect they give to the military personnel, the security operatives, we don't do that here. Somebody will just wake up, we say a military man or a policeman has insulted him, and the next thing, we will see this severally. You slap him. There were cases people will be, in fact, when I drive on the road and, policeman stops me and I see somebody or policeman has stopped somebody on the road and a civilian will go there and say, why did you stop him? What has it? I'll ask him, what is that? Can you do that in ordinary Benin Republic here? Our next door neighbor. A policeman will stop somebody for search or for questioning you that you are not involved. You go and be questioning the policeman. Why did you stop him? So we need to respect our laws and our institutions. And our institutions also embody the personnel carrying out those functions.
That's right. Mr. Roy, let me come to you. Well, he talks about respect, but then others will argue that respect begets respect. And we've seen, or there are experiences where you see those, the uniformed personnel would probably not, give respect to what they're wearing, the uniform, the emblems, and all of that. You see them jumping the queues and all of that, and then you see them not conducting themselves in a respectable manner. How do you, appraise this? What are your views about this? Do you feel that something has actually motivated them to do this, or maybe those ones are not just disciplined? That's the reason why they are being disrespected or disobeyed.
I love this question. I love this question. You see, when you look at a bunch of eggs, they said in every bunch there are bad eggs. But I want to take it from another direction. Every victim of uniform personnel disregard for policies and respect for civilians, every victim that has spoken out, you have your record. The police officer or the military personnel are dealt with internally, and it is brought out to public knowledge that so-and-so officers that did this, policemen or military men, they were dealt with. So if the civilians constitute themselves to generate evidence when that abuse or violation is taking place, it will be dealt with by the military, because the military does not want any stain on its khaki. So even the police, I've seen situations where police officers that were recorded were fished out and dealt with. So once the civilians, the citizens, see that a violation is taking place, they should document it, especially this time that every agency has its own social media. They should post it and tag the agency, and it will be addressed. Then let me come back to why you see situations like that. Oftentimes, it is the civilians that come to the barrack to call the soldiers. I want to take you back to when there was military regime. I was a young soldier, and I see a lot of civilians come to the barrack to ginger officers to help them go and take over their brother's land, to go and help them deal with somebody somewhere. And some disciplined officer will tell them, that is not our job.
Right. Mr. Roy, sorry to jump in your line of thought. Very quickly, if you can sum up, your points, because we're actually out of time. Very quickly.
No. I told you it's a very large topic to discuss.
Absolutely.
Military and civilian lifestyle. So let me close by saying this. Every soldier that have given their life to this country, they deserve rebates. They deserve discounts. There were supermarkets in the barrack those days where you can buy things at discounts.
That's right.
Every soldier, every airport you go to in Nigeria, you should ask the uniformed men, military men, to board first. And you should make sure they buy their tickets at a cheaper rate. In the banks and everywhere they do recruitment, they should have a column to state, are you a veteran or a child of a military personnel? If you qualify, they should give you that advantage.
Absolutely.
When they do women empowerment,
yeah,
they should remember when you apply, they ask you, are you a military officer's wife or a military veteran's wife?
Interesting.
And they should give you the advantage.
Mr. Ekujimi, your final thought on this. How does this, fit into the broader perspective of the government's, social justice, and ensure that, yes, the military is well taken care of, as well as all other Nigerians? Absolutely.
That's where I was. I wanted to come to that angle, that the welfare of the generality of the Nigerian people should be uppermost in the mind of any government, including the present administration. And talking about the military personnel, what we are demanding is that just as we are demanding better life for the average Nigerian,
that's right,
that the military personnel and the security operatives themselves also deserves, a better life. And that is in terms of remuneration, motivational, machinery to make them perform their work. Because somebody must not be going to war or performing military functions, thinking about how that my daughter that I cannot pay his or her school fees. It will be demotivating.
I'm afraid because of our time, we'll definitely, it's an ongoing conversation.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely always talk about it. Executive Director, Center for Social and Economic Rights, Nelson Ekujimi. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For your time. And via Zoom from the United States has been military veteran, security consultant, Roy Okediebe. Thank you so much too for giving us that experience and experiential knowledge from your end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And finally on the show, we went to the streets of Lagos to ask people this question. Would you prefer to have a good health